I would love to bring my boss, my good friend, our CEO on with a little bit of style. Can we just do it one more time? One more time for Chris, hands up. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Ronzio. Good job.
Playbook! What's up? How we doing? No, I'm just kidding. Stop. Adam said we're not doing the how we doings, right? No how we doings. How you doing? All right, Playbook. Finally, we're doing this in person. Can I get a show of hands if you've been to one of our virtual events? Show of hands, okay. A little mix of you, and maybe some of you are newer than others. So where did this whole thing come from? Well, Jonathan and I, my brother Jonathan, you'll get to know him too. We were at one of our investors' offices, one of our advisors, maybe like 10 miles from here. And they were putting on this presentation about building categories. Maybe you've read the category books, or you've heard, or you've done this work for your business. But the advice at the front of the room was, what is a word that when people see, they think of your business? And we didn't have that at the time. And so we started thinking, well, what's our word? What would people think of? And we called ourselves Trainual, training manuals, and we had operations manuals. But a cool word that we started saying a lot was playbook. Make a playbook for your business. Have your plays. Have everything dialed in so your team can operate like you want it to. Have a playbook. And so in that room, we picked playbook as the word that we wanted to roll with. And like any good entrepreneur, I took out my phone and I registered 10 years of domains. So Playbook 2020, Playbook 2021, 22, 23, and here we are, 2024. And since we got this started, we've had 13,233 of you attend our virtual events. So back in 2020, we did our first ever virtual event. At the beginning, we thought we're gonna do this as an in-person event. That was the intent. But then COVID hit. And so we decided we'll do a virtual event. You know, people are still kind of figuring it out. Speakers are like, well, what am I going to do? My whole calendar's empty. And so somehow we got Damon John to speak at our first event by just reaching out to his team and saying, hey, Damon can like sit in his pajamas at home and do a talk for us. What will you charge? They're like, I don't know what we're going to charge. And we worked it out. And so we got really lucky to have Damon join for Playbook 2020. And he'll be here tomorrow kind of to come full circle of finally having this in person. So it'll be cool. You'll get to see him. 2021, we did remote again. We actually hosted it at Design Pickle's office, Design Pickle in the back there. They've got this big warehouse in North Scottsdale, and we hosted it there. So if you remember seeing that set with the big purple background, we were like hand painting the purple background. In 22, we did it again. In 23, we brought you Insider Summit. And now finally, in 24, we all get to be in person. So thank you for being here. There are 303 of you that decided to book tickets, to book your travel, to book airfare, to come here and get away during a busy season, a holiday season. Or maybe you're just here for the weather. Or maybe you're like, get me the heck away from my kids. They're crazy after Halloween. But either way, you're here, and I'm grateful that you're here. Since we started the business, over 1.2 million people have used Trainual, which is crazy to think about. That's a lot of people, and that represents people across 195 countries, which according to Google is all of them. That's pretty cool. Except for the ones we're not allowed to serve. So like you try to come to our website in some countries and you get bounced, but they're all trying, and that's what's important. But this is the number I like the most. 13.5 million policies, processes, flowcharts, SOPs, things that you all have made inside our product to make your businesses better. And that's pretty cool. So that's why we're doing this, because we believe that every company needs a playbook. And this simple little vision statement that we started with, that every company needs a playbook, is what has propelled us to not only put on these events, but develop the product, but do every webinar. And during the course of the next couple days, you're gonna meet 15 or 16 or 17 Trainual employees that will speak to you from stage. And they're not normally speakers, but we're just kind of opening up the curtains of our business to show you how we do things so you can take that back to yours. And I think that's pretty cool too. All right, so every company has a playbook. This is just, we believe every company should come with instructions. Every company should take the time to write down explicitly how they think things should be done. What does good look like? What are we expecting of the new people that we bring into the business? And if every business had a playbook, every business would have a better culture. Every business would have better margins. Every business would run more smoothly. And that's at the core of what we're trying to teach here. And I know that because you're all here, you're all believers and advocates in this vision. So thank you for taking some of what you learn and bringing it back to make your companies better. Because that's why we do this. Now, we're still at the very, very infancy of this mission. Every company has a playbook. Do you know that 30 years ago, actually, I'm going to ask you, maybe shout out, 30 years ago, how many websites do you think there were? Maybe just shout out, give me some answers. No, stop, not all at once. What was that? Oh, I'm not, 5, 6, 2? There were 2,300 websites 30 years ago. That's wild, right? Today, still 25 to 35% of businesses don't yet have a website. Do you all have websites? Yeah. Okay, all right, good. So your website is like how you tell your story to the world. It's how you paint the picture of your business to potential customers, to prospects. It's the external version of your playbook. And your playbook is the internal version. It's like your secret sauce, your recipes, your instructions, your stories, your principles, the things that you want all of your people to know how to do. And so the internal playbook that we teach about, that we're building, is really just the version of that external website. And we've got a long way to go until we have 1.2 billion playbooks like there are 1.2 billion websites. All right, let me take you a little bit further than 30 years back. Can I go way back? Way back? So that's me and Jonathan. Jonathan's over there. I'm circling him in the green laser pointer. He's always been shorter by just a little bit. Man, do I wish we could recreate this picture. If anybody finds either of these sweaters on eBay, please, if any of you knit, this would be the perfect gift. All right, so you may have heard Jonathan and I, we co-founded the business. We're brothers. He runs revenue and marketing. I'm CEO, and you'll get to see both of us speak throughout this. But if I go way back, one thing you probably don't know is by the time we got to high school, we had gone to 9 different schools and lived in 11 different houses. We moved a ton as little kids. Our dad was in the corporate world, and he was just jumping from job to job and moving around, taking different opportunities. He traveled a ton. He was never around much. And as kids, we were just jostled from one school to the next, from one room of strangers to the next. We were perpetually the new guy. Always the new guy. Now, this is a very weird slide if you don't recognize the movie. It's a 2002 movie. Still holds up. Still good. Great movie. When you Google the new guy, this is like one of the first results. I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen that in forever. Great movie. So we were perpetually the new guys, which is cool because when you go into a new space, you get to reinvent yourself a little bit, right? Has anyone moved or switched jobs and thought, I get to be someone different? Yeah. So when I lived in Chicago, when I was growing up in Chicago in the early days, I had my FUBU jersey. I had my cool lugs boots. I'm not even joking. I had a No Limit Soldiers necklace. Mine was not this cool. Make them say, yeah. I know, some of you know. So that was my outfit in Chicago. And then we moved clear across the country, halfway across the country to Boston. And I have to wake up every single day like I'm on Martha's Vineyard just to fit in. right? I don't think I ever popped that many collars, but I was always trying to fit in. I was always trying to make new friends and learn my environment and feel comfortable with the people that I was around. And so fast forward a little bit, I had my first company, sold my first company. My second business was this company, Organized Chaos. It was a consulting firm that would swoop into businesses for 3 to 5 days. And we would interview everyone, we'd understand their operations, and then we'd present some recommendations, and we would help them for 3 to 6 months get things done. My presentation tomorrow is actually going to be the framework that we used in that business. So you'll get to hear a lot about that. But I didn't realize this, but in that business, my superpower was going into a strange business and getting up to speed quickly. It was building trust with the employees that they had there. It was understanding the social dynamics, understanding who did what. And it was getting myself to an executive level of trust in 3 to 5 days where I could present recommendations to the C-suite and they would actually listen to me. And that's hard to do. You got to be really good at that. All right, so why am I telling you all this backstory? Well, this weekend, November 18th, marks 10 years since I registered another domain, Trainual.com. 10 years ago. And after 10 years of hacking away at this, I finally realized what it is that we're doing. And so we rolled out earlier this year to our teams a new mission statement, a statement that's been guiding our product decisions and our roadmap, and a statement that's going to be really important over the years to come in the direction of our company. So I thought it was appropriate to share it with you all here. So here it is. We help people at work get up to speed and stay up to date so they're empowered, aligned, and productive. Up to speed, up to date. It's what I was always trying to do as a kid. Isn't that where all our trauma comes out? So this is the manifestation of my childhood trauma. You're welcome. So we want to get your new people up to speed so they understand their place in your business, their place in your culture, their roles and responsibilities, and the way that they can make the biggest impact for you. And then we want to keep all of your existing people up to date so that they're operating at optimal efficiency, at optimal productivity, so that your business works the way you want it to, and you can play whatever role in it that you want to. Business is hard. Growing a business is really hard. But the worst part about it is when you're sucked into doing things you don't want to do. And so my definition of freedom is that you're only working on things that you want to work on. And that's what having a playbook allows. And so this is our commitment to you, is to build a product that consistently, year over year, gets better at helping get your new people up to speed and keep your existing people up to date, so that they're empowered, so that they feel ownership in the business to make it better, so that they're aligned. They know where you're going. You're rowing in the same direction, and so that they're productive, so that they're doing things the best possible way. All right, so I want to roll through some product updates, and that's what kind of the rest of this will be this morning, is just sharing with you some of the things I'm most excited about that have launched recently, and then a couple things that are on the horizon that you'll see in the coming weeks and months. So I'll bucket these into two things. First, up to speed, and then we'll talk about up to date. All right, up to speed. The first thing we rolled out a few months ago to get your new people up to speed is training paths. So hopefully some of you are using this, but training paths is a way for you to lay out the sequence, step by step by step, that a new employee should go through the content that they're assigned to. So some of you have probably joined a job in the past and you've just been totally overwhelmed, where they're like, here's the G drive, good luck. We didn't want that to happen. And so we've always had this universal way to sort your content, where you could say, from the most generic to the most specific, this is the universal order of content in Trainual. But only in the last few months have you been able to, for a specific person, determine their specific training path. And it's pretty exciting. And this is just the beginning in terms of how this will evolve. But we already have things like the delays. And so you can say, I want somebody to go through these 5 pieces of content and then wait until next Monday and assign this batch of content so that they can actually absorb the things that you're assigning to them. And that's what training paths are all about. It's that sequence of do this, then do this, then do this, pause, now do this, now look at this. And we want to make this sequence even smarter in the future. So definitely tap into training paths. The next thing that is helping get people up to speed is flowcharts. Has anyone built a flowchart yet? All right, awesome. So flowcharts represent for us a brand new kind of paradigm in Trainual that we call internally content types. You might not hear that in our marketing, but there are different types of content you can make in Trainual. And historically, the type of content has always been around that text editor. And you can put slides in there, you can put videos in there, but this is a totally different interaction, a totally different interface for building content. And when I used to work with people consulting, sometimes the easiest way to map out a process was just to use sticky notes on a whiteboard or draw squares on a blank piece of paper, because you want to know, if I zoom out to the fuzziest level of detail, what do we do in what order? And our editor has always promoted detail. You create those steps and you feel like you have to write a ton of content. And so flowcharts is a brand new way for you to think about outlining a process, because you can zoom way out to a macro process. You could show someone in their first couple days how your whole organization works, how a dollar flows through your business, from your sales and marketing efforts to ordering a product or service to fulfilling that product or service and charging for it, and then retaining that customer, building relationships over time. Those journeys, those big macro journeys, were really hard to describe in Trainual before, and flowcharts is our first step into doing that. Now, we also, as we went about building these new content types, and this is the first of many, we wanted to make sure that it was better in Trainual. What would make this better than for you doing this in Visio or in Whimsical or in Miro or in any of the other places, Photoshop or PowerPoint, that you might create boxes and lines? What makes it better in Trainual? And so Trainual has always been about the real connected nature of content. And so inside any of these boxes, you can, with the little app mention, tag any person or any piece of content or any group or team or role in your organization, so that as someone's learning, as they're going through the content, they can say, oh, tell me more about this box. And they can click over and see and read someone's bio. Or they can say, tell me more about how to do this thing. And they go and watch your video or read your standard operating procedure. And that's what makes this interface different than doing it somewhere else. So first, content type. Look out for a lot more of those. The very next content type that's coming, this is a coming soon, so not totally in your account yet, is video. So video has already been in Trainual in the form of embedded videos, but something we've been asked for a long time is, how do I just skip YouTube and Vimeo and just put the video in Trainual? And I want to order my videos, and I want to organize my videos, and I want to be able to control that people watch through to the very end before they move on. Or I want to be able to search for content and take me to the point in the middle of the video where people talked about that content. Or I want to be able to read a transcript alongside while I'm watching the video. And so this is all what we've been working on to enhance the video in Trainual as a new content type. Again, to get people quickly up to speed in the business. So videos will have transcripts and timestamps, and initially it'll start with being able to fire up a new video without the editor and put a video from any of those external sources. And then very shortly after, you'll be able to upload your own videos directly into Trainual. So we're excited about that. And then one more thing, getting people up to speed. This is kind of like a pet project of mine, something I've been really excited about over the last couple years. We don't have the official name for it, but I wanted to show it to all of you today. It's some form of tool stack or software stack for your business. Now, one of the things that all of your new people need to get up to speed on is the tools that they're going to need to use to do their job. And so today you can create content for any of those things. You can build subjects and topics and steps and describe all these tools in Trainual. But we thought, what if there was an interface that was built for this? What if I could search through thousands of available tools on the internet, subscription tools, or pick my own custom tool? What if I could connect all of the documentation and training to that tool and then select which teams and people on those teams use this tool so that you can manage it all in one place? And then when your employees log in, they see a perfect little dashboard of the tools that they use in their part of the business. So this idea of a tool stack, a software stack, is going to be, again, fully integrated into all of the other parts of Trainual, but it's going to be really geared toward that onboarding, toward new people that need to get up and running on the tools that you use to get your work done. So look out for that in the first quarter of next year. All right, let's talk about some up-to-date things. So first, a couple things that already exist that maybe you've used, but if you haven't, I want to go over them here. So the first one is the delegation planner. So this was another kind of pet project that for the last 5 or 6 years, even going back to my consulting days, I used to sit down with companies and list in an Excel spreadsheet all the different roles and positions in the company. And then we would create row by row all the different roles or responsibilities, the things that were on people's plates. And when you zoom out, you get to see these columns and you see who's overloaded, who maybe has a little more capacity. And you get to have this conversation with your teams to negotiate, well, what do you really like doing? What do you want to be doing more of in the future? And that constant change, the ebb and flow of roles and responsibilities over time, is a big part of what changes in your business. I'd say the thing that changes most frequently is probably who does what in the business as our businesses grow. And so the delegation planner is a space where you can create a board and you can add the people on your team, in your company, or you can pick roles that don't yet have people in them and then spell out the different responsibilities that are on each of those people or each of those roles. And then over here, you get to rank things. You get to decide how important is this position to my business? Let me go back one. So the business impact of this responsibility, the career alignment, is this something they want to be doing over the next couple years? Do they like doing it? Are they good at doing it? And you can use that data, that quantifiable data, to say, okay, maybe I should move this thing from one person on my team to a different person on my team. And then of course, because everything's connected in Trainual, you've got your content that's connected to that responsibility that moves with it when you shift it over. And so change management is a big part of, again, keeping people up to date in the business, and the delegation planner is an incredible tool if you haven't yet tapped into it. Next is a simple one. This one appeared on your home screens in the last few weeks or month. This is a simple little following widget where you get to pick people in the organization that you want to follow along with to make sure their completion score is up to 100% or at least close to it. You can pick anybody. It'll auto-select the people that report to you if you're a manager, but it's a really easy way to make sure that your team is up to speed. And then content verification. This one's a little hidden in the settings. This is kind of like an Easter egg in Trainual. So I wanted to just call it out. So if you go to your subject advanced settings, there's this little setting right here where you can choose to periodically verify content. And so the way that this works is that anything in Trainual gets attached to an owner, a content owner, a subject owner. And then if you turn on this little content verification thing, every month, every quarter, every year, whenever you decide, it'll ping that person and say, hey, is this still correct? Come back into Trainual, make sure this is correct. And as long as they verify it, it'll show that little badge that this is verified content. So this is our first step in that direction of making sure everything is constantly up to date. And you're going to see over the next year, AI make a big difference in this as well. Just a little teaser there. All right, now a couple things that are coming soon about making sure all of your people are up to speed. Coming soon, compliance. Yay! That's a weird, no one's going to celebrate this, but let me explain. It's good. All right, so more and more we're hearing from all of you that there are certain legislation, government required trainings. Maybe it's for your industry, maybe it's for your geography. And you're saying, how do I get that stuff in Trainual? Why isn't that stuff available in Trainual? Well, now it will be. So as of the next couple of weeks, months, we'll say a couple of weeks to months. CEOs always overpromise. A couple of weeks to months, there will be a library of compliance content, and you'll be able to select your geography, select your industry, and it'll show you all the things based on your company size that are required based on where you're operating. And that'll again be based on your employees' locations. And so if you've got people everywhere, this will show you exactly what you need to do to be in compliance, and you'll be able to do it in one place. This is also a new content type for us, because what it's doing is opening up a way for us to work with other vendors that have pre-existing content for your industries, professional development content, soft skills, all the external things that you might want to train on in Trainual. We're finally bringing that into the same place, so you don't have to go somewhere else to do it. So look out for that coming soon. Next thing on keeping people up to date, version history. All right, again, yawn. We want this to be exciting. So version history feels like it should be something that that everyone has, right? Well, the difficult part about version history is that because we're an accountability tool, we're taking people through tests. We're certifying time and date stamp that they've done things. We're making sure that we've got e-signatures in many cases, that they've gone through certain content. And so if someone flippantly just changes it to a previous version, how are we addressing that? There's a lot of work that goes into this, but we've been working on it. Our team's been working on it for a while now, and we're really excited that we're going to be releasing version history here in the next couple of months. And so you'll, for any content, be able to open it up, see all previous versions, see who's edited what, revert to previous versions if you need to, and it'll all trickle through into your reporting and the other parts of the app. So version history coming soon. Oh, thank you, sir. One person's excited. That's exactly what we were going for. That's like that raise the hand thing, right? The applause trickle through the room. Okay, next. I know a lot of you have been waiting for this for a while as well. Commenting. So, there it is. I think those are our PMs in the back. So commenting, again, it's one of those things that you are probably used to doing this in other places, but it gets way more complicated when you've got versions and things in draft status and things that are published to the whole organization. Who can see what comments? Are they public comments from your people? Are they private comments? And we've been working and sorting through all of that. But we're really excited that this is coming out in the next couple of months. So you will be able to, at the same time, collaborate on page with anyone else if you're working on something that you're going to roll out. And then you'll be able to mention your coworkers and leave and resolve comments as you're working toward publishing an update to keep your teams up to date. And I've heard from way too many people that you have to work on your content outside of Trainual and then copy it in when it's done and ready to publish. And so we're finally going to address that and make this be the place where you go while you're building. So we're really excited about that. All right, and then the last product thing that I want to share, something that rolled out last month that you've probably already seen, is called Trainual Plus. Trainual Plus. So maybe some of you are already on this, but think of this as a boost for your account. That's why we've got the little Mario mushroom thing on there. No, it's not Mario. That would be IP infringement. So ours is purple, right? So training pass, multi-language support, custom domains, unlimited e-signatures, delegation planner, all of these things we think about as the more advanced set of training functionality. And so if you're just getting started in the product and you don't really need all that advanced material and you're really just publishing things out and doing the basics, you don't need this. But if you're interested in some of these, unlimited version control, I want my training to exist at chrisstraining.com. I want to use the delegation planner to plan out future roles in the business. I want to create these intricate logic-based training paths. If you have that advanced set of needs, definitely talk to our booth in the back left there, and they can tell you all about how to add this to your account. All right, so the last thing I want to touch on here is looking ahead, and probably something that's been on all of our minds about how much AI is going to change the world. AI is going to change the world. So definitely AI is going to change the world, for sure. But before we said AI would change the world, we said crypto will change the world. And it will. Absolutely. Blockchain is going to change the world. And before that, it was mobile. Everything's going to be different about our business. Everybody needs an app. And before that, everybody needed a website, and e-commerce is moving online. And before that, we're all going to outsource everything overseas. And the computer is going to change the world. And the factory and assembly lines are going to change the world. And the steam engine and the printing press. The world is changing. And next, it'll be quantum computing. And after that, space tourism or something. All of this stuff is changing the world 100%. But I actually think the more productive question for us to take back to our business isn't what's going to change the world, but what doesn't change. What is not changing about my industry? What is not changing about the problem that we solve? And so as a leadership team, we've put a lot of thought into this. And what we realized is what doesn't change despite all the technology is that story of me growing up and wanting to fit in, wanting to know my place. What doesn't change is human-to-human relationships, because there will always be businesses, and businesses will always, to some extent, rely on people to make decisions. And whether you have 2 employees or 2,000 employees, there are relationships at play. There are roles and responsibilities at play. And we want to be comfortable. We want to be empowered. We want to be aligned. We want to be productive. And so we've chosen as a business to keep our lens and our focus on that. To be able to onboard and train and grow and retain our companies, our employees, and make our businesses better. And so what we're obsessed with at Trainual is trying to create a foundation for how to run the best business ever. And again, by being in this room, by being part of our community, I know that you're believers in this. I know you want your companies to run better too, and your cultures to run better too. And that's why we're doing this. We're trying to create the foundation of a great business so that you can run yours on the back of ours. So for the next couple days, you're going to get to hear from so many people, so many of our employees and our partners, and I just can't wait for all of the takeaways that you leave here with. And I want you to think about what is not changing in your industry, and how do you dig deep and find new success over the next few years, and find new abundance instead of the scarcity of how hard business could be. All right, so we're gonna have fun. We can't wait to entertain you, to bring you over to the Sun's headquarters, for you to listen to some music, have some food and drinks, and hear our speakers. And again, just one more thank you for taking your time and coming here to spend some of it with us. So thank you, everybody.